Meeting of the Board of Education to order at, looks like 5:02. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Fire evacuation announcements. There are two exits here if we have to evacuate the chamber. One in front of me to your rear, go through the double doors out into the grassy area here. The other one is to my left, your right, go through the double doors, take an immediate left, go down the stairs and out into the parking lot. Roll call, please, Kathy.
Mr. Janitis?
Here.
Mrs. LeBlanc?
Here.
Mr. Feely?
Here.
Mr. Grady?
Here.
Mrs. Suzak?
Here.
Mr. Serrard?
Here.
Ms. Hall?
Here.
Mrs. Rancourt?
Here.
Chairman Neville?
Here. Okay, moving on to item 5, audience participation. There's a limit. As mentioned at last week's meeting, we have a tight agenda. We basically have a maximum an hour and 15 minutes for the entire meeting. The meeting has to end promptly at 6:15 or earlier because a number of us have to attend the Enfield High School Scholarship Assembly at 6:30 p.m. at Enfield High School. As you know, our primary goal is to approve a budget, and to fit within the time constraints, we need to have limit our audience session to 15 minutes with a limit of 2 minutes per speaker. If you can say it quicker than that, that's fine. That'll enable us to have more speakers up here. And I will call the speaker and the person coming up after them so that we can move this right along. The remainder of our time will be dedicated to a brief presentation by Dr. Schuman and a discussion and hopefully a vote on the 2013-14 fiscal year school budget. With that said, I have one person signed up. I think I'm going to have another one at this point. If anybody wants to sign up, please sign up with Kathy, please. Jennifer McHughes, did I say that right?
Moncuse.
Moncuse, I apologize.
I'll just keep coming in, sorry.
Well, we're glad to have you here.
I'm Jennifer Moncuse, 17 Booth Road. I will try to be short. First, I would just like to volunteer for a project that Mr. Feely mentioned at the last meeting. Like a lot of moms, I wear a lot of hats. And in addition to being the parent engagement coordinator for KITE, I'm also KITE's accountability coordinator, responsible for doing data analysis to ensure that KITE is making progress toward our goals. And another hat I wear is as a mom of one of those two Head Start students, or one of two of the many Head Start students who've made lots of progress this year. At the New England Head Start Conference, one of the keynote speakers was Governor of Vermont. He was wonderful. But one of the things he said really resonated with me, and it was about this common perception that Head Start doesn't work and that the gains are wiped out in a short order. And what he said was this: if you take a shower first thing in the morning, you come out squeaky clean, and then you go to work and you cook dinner and you do a little gardening, is it the shower's fault at the end of the day that you're dirty again? Certainly it's not. Students come out of Head Start much better prepared for school than students who don't attend an accredited preschool program. And if the American education system fails to capitalize on that preparedness, then it's not really Head Start's fault, in my opinion, as much as it's the educational system's fault. So I would love to help and do some of that data analysis work, tracking some of those students and over their progress over years and see how they do. I expect that they would probably have less need for special educational intervention and retention than their peers who did not attend a preschool program. I know that my sons are dramatically better prepared than they would have been otherwise. So I want to volunteer to assist the superintendent's office in this analysis project, especially since I imagine the data warehousing system that he wanted is not going to make it through this year's budget. As you all know, I'm somewhat rabidly want full-day kindergarten for my boys as well as all the rest of Enfield's young students for this upcoming year, and I'm very hopeful that tonight you will make that happen, especially because I'm sure the primary principals and teachers are anxious to get going with their plans. I know they're all making dual plans at this point. So I've spoken at length about this, about reasons why you, and educational experts think that full-day kindergarten is so important. I'm not going to rehash that now, but I will just say this and quote the Rolling Stones. You can't always get what you want, but if you try, sometimes you just might find you get what you need. Enfield needs full-day kindergarten. I've been trying, you've been trying, lots of our neighbors have been trying, and let's make this one of those sometimes when we get what we need. Thanks.
Thanks, Jen. Appreciate it. Randy Daigle, please.
Thank you very much. My name is Randy Daigle. I am the chairman of the school building committee for the consolidation of the new Enfield High School. We are here this evening to ask for your approval for our recommendation to hire Gil Bain as the CMR at risk, construction manager at risk for that project. We were in front of the town council last night, and they approved it, and I'm here asking you for your approval also. Less than a minute.
Very, very good, Randy. We appreciate it.
Seconds.
That's good.
I'm sorry? Gilbane, Gilbane Builders. They're out of Glastonbury.
Go ahead.
Aren't they the construction managers at risk for the correct building?
No,
Oh, no, they're not.
FIP is.
Okay. Very good.
Great.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Randy. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak in audience? Sensing none, we'll close out that portion of our agenda and move on to item 6, which is the continuation of the fiscal year 2013-14 budget discussion and action, if any. And at this point, I'd like to ask Dr. Schuman to please bring us up to date on the reductions. And I don't know whether you have handouts for us. I guess we do. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Being passed around is a proposal for you to consider with a motion at the top that would allow you to bring your proposed budget into alignment with the town council's allocation. And there are 4 sections, and I'll take you through each one of those sections and then answer any questions that you may have. I'll also provide some other data. The first section is a salary adjustment and position adjustment. First of all, you'll be reallocating 5 positions to full-day kindergarten, so the district will have full-day kindergarten next year. Second, you'll be recalling 20 of the teachers that you non-renewed in your meeting several weeks ago. We'll be letting those teachers know that they do have positions coming back. Next, you'll be eliminating 5 positions where teachers have retired. Combinations of part-time teachers. They serve at both high schools in world language, in English, in guidance, in math, and district-wide in special education. Next, we will be removing the longevity stipends from the budget for those individuals. They had been with us for quite a long time, and they were entitled to longevity stipends, so we'll be able to save the money there. The next, you'll be reducing the business education department by 2 full-time teachers, 1 at each school. We'll be reducing the science department at both high schools, 1 at each school, 2 teachers there. Social studies, a split person between the 2 schools. 2 paraprofessionals district-wide. We'll be eliminating 1 high school principal at Fermi High School. We'll be eliminating 5 department chairs and a technology information specialist. There are 10 department chairs, 1 at each high school, and 2 technology information specialists. We're proposing you consolidate that down to 1 department chair and 1 technology information specialist. Department chair areas are in math, science, world language, English, and social studies. So we'd be going to 1 9 through 12 department chair in each of those areas and 1 technology information specialist. We'd be proposing you add a curriculum coordinator position for STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. Propose that you add a humanities coordinator, curriculum coordinator, an upgrade to the chief information technology officer's position. And as a result of us not having to do as many layoffs as we originally had thought back when we non-renewed all those teachers, we were finding a adjustment in what we budgeted for unemployment, and we were able to return $9,941 to the budget. So all of that work right there allows you to reduce your salary account by $696,455. The next area is in retirement salary reductions. Now that we have a firm number and we know exactly what that looks like, we've asked the Chief Financial Officer to recalculate what the retirement savings will be. Originally, we had told the board that you could count on $240,000 worth of savings for certified staff. We now have recalculated that based on the allocation from the town council and another $90,000 that can be saved there. We also have a retirement coming up in the non-certified area. That one will not happen till partway through the school year, so they will get a partial savings on that differential between hiring a person at the first step and having a person at the top go out. That savings is $5,400. So total in retirement salary reductions at $95,400. You're aware of the bottom two pieces, the post-retirement pension adjustments, which came to us, which we became aware of after the board passed its budget, has to be added back in at $117,786. And then the work of the town council and their reduction and their work that we were able to reduce as a result of them reducing their requirement for the board of $750,000. The board had already budgeted to reduce that account. There's a net savings of $718,154. So all of these things together total the differential between the board's proposed budget and the town council allocation. There is some additional data that I think you should be aware of. First of all, our class size impact as we go through all this and remove teachers around. We had informed the board, but by going to full-day kindergarten, there would be an increase in the kindergarten class sizes. We expect kindergarten class sizes to go from 16.33 this year to 19.88 across the district. Understanding that in all these class sizes, these are averages district-wide, there is a range. The range would be plus or minus a couple of students in a class. So it would be wouldn't be unlikely for us to see a class of 21 or 20, maybe even 22, and it wouldn't be unlikely for us to see a class of 16 or 17. But the range is unpredictable at this point until we know exact enrollment. We do have a better idea of what the averages will be. Our overall K-2 enrollment indicates that the class size average for kindergarten through second grade, those schools, is 18.18 right now. We expect it to go to 19.8 for next year. At the intermediate level, right now we're averaging in grades 3 through 5, 21.86. That would go down to 21.54 next year as enrollment moves through. At JFK Middle School, the enrollment currently indicates 21.26. We expect that to go up slightly to 22.17 next year. Now, at the high school level, where we have some reductions in areas where we're not replacing some of these retiring teachers, in mathematics, district-wide, we are averaging 17.34 this year. We will go to 18.05 next year. In science, where we're averaging 18.98 this year, we'll go to 21.2 next year. In English, where we're averaging 17.06, we will go to 22 even. In world language, where we're averaging 15.97, we'll go to 17.8. In business education, where we're averaging 16.5, we will go to 18.05. In the area of guidance, our caseloads are right around 250 students. We expect that number to go up into the high 270s or low 280s for next year. The accreditation agency, the New England Association of Schools and Colleges, has a limit of 300. At 300, they begin to want to be notified, and we are sure that we'll be about 20 students under their limit, so we fall within the guidelines of the accrediting agency that looks at our high schools. So that is some of the data in terms of class size impact from the work that's here, and certainly if you have any other questions, I'd be happy to address those for you.
Okay, what I'd like to do is have people have a chance to ask Dr. Schuman some questions about the data that he just presented. Once that's satisfied, I'd entertain a motion to, the motion that Dr. Schuman handed us, and then have an extensive discussion on the budget. So do any of the board members have questions for Dr. Schuman? Yes, Donna.
Do you know what percentage we are at? Oh, I'm sorry. What percentage is the budget at right now?
1.78 is the budget increase from the town council.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Dr. Schuman? Peter?
That does not include,
750.
never mind.
Okay. Any other questions for Dr. Schuman? Tom?
So the 1.78 it's basically, that doesn't include the refactoring of our IT budget, correct?
That is correct. That is not part of our budget. That's something the town did in a joint department that we work with collaboratively.
Okay.
Yeah.
Joyce?
I just want to make
And Peter? Well, I want to just satisfy people's questions for Dr. Schuman. Peter?
Have we come up with a final number, or has the town council come up with a final number for the security issue? I know it's not our budget, but it's money that taxpayers are going to pay, and I'm just curious what it is.
A final number for, I don't know a final number. I think they're looking at several years' worth of hardening, so I don't know what a final
Well,
number is.
I don't know, you guys are on the, huh?
I mean, we haven't seen the figures for hardening the buildings.
Well, what have we come up, what has the committee come up with that they're going to be doing next year? How much money are you spending on all the public schools, the parochial schools, and the Montessori school?
The only thing they're working on right now is hardening, and the security piece is hardening, and I won't go into more detail with that, but hardening the buildings of the public schools. They haven't worked out any MOU or anything with the parochial schools or anybody else at this point in time. The other thing is they left I believe they left 600 and something thousand in the budget for security. And at this point in time, and I think they were waiting to see what the outcome was from the legislature. But that's my best understanding of it.
You mean with the armed securities?
Yes. Well, they talked about using it either way, either for the hardening or for that, depending on what the outcome was at the legislature. And right now, I don't know what that outcome is. We haven't had a meeting in a couple of weeks.
1099 has passed, and with the allowance of retired police officers to be in the public schools.
They have to be posted.
Not other,
With or without that updated certifications?
They had to have the,
no, it's not not post-required, except that every one of them would have been trained that way.
okay.
But it's not in the bill that has recently passed.
The point that I'm trying to get at is, we have our 1.78, and the security is not on our budget, but it is still monies that the taxpayers of Enfield are going to be paying. And I'm wondering what that figure is on top of the 1.78.
I don't know what that is, Peter. We'd have to ask. I never knew the exact figure. But we could find out for you. There's a meeting scheduled for tomorrow.
I thought you were co-chair.
I am, but that's only part of it. The money side of it is coming from the town side. I know there's several $100,000 in the budget for hardening, but we have not. The council has gone through the details of the monies, but we have not. Any other-
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
the legislature has also worked on added potential for money being reimbursed to school systems on the expenditures relative to security. And I believe that bill has also passed.
Okay. Thank you.
And I have two questions for Dr. Schuman.
Sure.
As far as cutting the English position, I noticed that had the largest increase in class sizes, and yet we're going to be stressing writing and everything like this. Do you think it's wise that we be cutting that English position at the high school?
I met several times with all of the principals across the district and exclusively on several occasions with the two high school principals, and this is their recommendation. They feel they can meet the needs of the students with these reductions.
I feel sorry for the English teachers. And at Fermi High, the reduction of an assistant VP, with everything that seems to be going on up there, once again, is that a wise choice?
This was actually something that came up when I met with both the principals jointly, and one of the principals of that building suggested that this would be a possibility in lieu of other things. So he believes he can cover his building with the enrollment now down under 1,000 students with the staff that he has. If we were to remove that position, yes.
Isn't enrollment under 900 students? It's about 900. That's what I thought. Okay. Any other questions of Dr. Schuman? Go ahead, Tina.
I guess for me, I just have a statement. it still bothers me about these 2 coordinator positions. I'd really like to see, again, science and a guidance counselor, because now we're eliminating a part-time guidance counselor and we're eliminating an assistant principal. I don't have, I guess I just feel like I want everyone to know it bothers me that we're cutting positions and adding, because I feel like we should be saving the teachers. That's just my thought.
We're going to have further discussion, right? Because I would like to piggyback that, but I didn't think that was the time.
We're going to have discussion on the
Yeah.
motion. Okay, what I'm really just trying to clarify at this point is the data or the additional data you just gave us at this point in time. So if there are no other questions for Dr. Schuman, then I'd entertain a motion. Joyce?
I move that the Enfield Board of Education turn on its microphone, yes. I move that the Enfield Board of Education adopt the 2013-14 budget in the amount of $64,262,157 by authorizing the superintendent to make the adjustments listed in this document to the board's budget proposal of $65,654,380.
Second.
Made by Joyce, seconded by Vinnie. Okay, to facilitate everyone getting a chance to speak, and I'm going to be watching the clock because we have another commitment, as you all know. What I'd like to do is give everybody a chance to speak. Start with Peter, go in order around the table, and get everyone a chance to comment at least once. If there's still a need for further discussion, then we'll go around a second time. If the debate hasn't closed by 6:10, we need to make a decision whether to call the question or continue at the June, I think it's the 11th meeting. Either way, we will need to move to adjourn no later than 6:15 p.m. So I just want to, those are the ground rules. So we can start and just go, and we'll pick up with Tina after Peter. Go ahead.
Okay. I don't like the idea of robbing Peter to pay Paul here. With this particular budget. We're going to be sacrificing teachers, other support staff, programs, class sizes, and that really, really does not sit well with me at all. Increases to this budget, we're having 1.78, plus the town is picking up other things for budgetary reasons and things like that. But when you factor in everything that's going to be being spent in the schools, the number or the dollars, whether it's in our budget or the town's budget, has increased significantly. And knowing the unfunded mandates that are coming our way next year, particularly associated with the new evaluation program, I don't think this is the prudent time to be increasing, knowing what's coming down the road. We've put in an all-day kindergarten at the sacrifice of an alternative ed program or the start of a meaningful voc ed program. I'm tired of hearing we're doing everything for all the kids in Enfield. We're not. There's a large chunk of kids out there who are probably between the ages of 13 to 18 who some of them still can be saved. And year after year after year, very little is being done for them except just dispersing them through the schools. We're keeping our membership, or our renewed membership in CABE, which costs, it's an association that's supposed to work for the boards of education throughout the state of Connecticut. It costs the town $20,000 per year. And I just read something today where CABE came out supporting the new evaluation program and the Common Core standards, both of which I think are idiotic. But that's just my opinion. I could be wrong. I don't like the idea of transferring a vice principal into the HR position. I think it's board policy that you're supposed to bring us 2 candidates before us, and I don't want to waiver that.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I was just worried if I was going, yeah.
You just.
You're out of order.
But I was seeing where we said getting rid of a VP.
But I think.
Okay.
That nothing else has happened. That's
Okay.
Okay.
Then I don't like the idea of still getting rid of the VP at Fermi High School, particularly since Fermi seems to be having more difficulties lately than the other schools. Adding 2 curriculum coordinators for STEAM and humanities. I think we're in the process of trying to trim administrative costs, particularly out of the central office. And here we are adding to, at the cost of, if you're going to be looking at non-tenured teachers, that's 4 teachers' jobs. Now, I know there's reasons that you say we have to do them. I'd rather keep the teachers and cross the other bridge later. There are too many things, I think, that are happening too quickly. We set in motion to have one high school, and I think we ought to be treading water as much as possible until that day comes where the 2 high schools merge. Playing around with what's going on at the high schools for getting in what is the all-day kindergarten program. Once again, I think that is something that should have waited. And for those reasons, I am not going to support this budget.
Tina, please.
Okay, as I said earlier, I think that you did a good job on the budget this year. I loved your presentations. I like to see exactly what you were looking at. Unfortunately, we're here because we can't get what we want. So we're going to get what we need. The only thing that really bothers me, and I feel like everyone needs to know, is the 2 additions of the coordinators, because I'd really like to save some teachers. Because what sticks out in my mind is when I was advocating for the high school consolidation, a lot of people went up there and said, I'll vote yes if you continue or try to invest in education. And so we asked the taxpayers to vote on the new high school, and they did. And then now, ultimately, that's where we're cutting. And that's a hard pill to swallow, if you ask me. I don't want to see any teachers get cut. It's times like these that I feel like we lose good teachers, and it's hard to get them back. That's it.
Thank you, Tina. Kevin?
Every election cycle, we hear about how teachers are being let go due to a lack of funding from the town council. This year, the town council gave a substantial increase in the budget, yet we're still letting teachers go. I'm angry that while the Dems are sitting here claiming to care about class sizes and the kids, other than Tina in this case, that they'd propose a budget including cuts to staff, while over $200,000 for new administrators, increase in pay for a CIO, all while saying that they care about what goes on in the classroom, class sizes, and teachers. I'm not for it. I'm angry that we're protecting affiliations with CABE at the expense of jobs. People cannot buy from our community stores. They cannot live in our communities. They cannot pay taxes in our communities. And their kids cannot go to school in our communities if they don't have jobs. I would much rather see us protect the teachers and protect those jobs before we start worrying about protecting our friends and our affiliations. That's what I see in this budget. I hope the people, especially teachers watching, will remember this. I do not support the budget. It represents protecting those friends and affiliations at the expense of the jobs of the people that are out there on the front line doing it.
Vinny?
Well, I'm listening here, and I understand. I don't like losing teachers either. But I think the process started right from the state, and I think a lot of us agree that we're stuck between a rock and a hard place because of these unfunded mandates. And I think with this year's budget, I mean, we're especially hit hard because of the SEED program that has to be implemented. Dr. Schumann did the best I think he can to get that organization started, or that organizing started, to get the SEED program started, and something that we have to do. It's not something that we can choose to do. I don't think he really wanted to cut any teachers. I think he has to organize the system so we can best implement it. And yes, I'm not too happy about adding administrators either, but what do you do to get this program started? I don't think it's a fair thing saying it's Democrats against the Republicans. I think that was a kind of a cheap shot. But like I said, that started right from the state, and it was put on our lap. So,
Donna?
Okay. First of all, hindsight, no budget's perfect. Full-day kindergarten. Full-day kindergarten, for me, is the culmination of the K-8 reorganization for the K-5 schools. Full-day kindergarten in the framework of the reorganization is a win for this community. Reorganization of the high school staff is the start of the consolidation of the two high schools. Things move forward in incremental steps. We don't go and move along and cliff off, to me. I think that that's not a way to proceed. Because you reallocate reductions in staff in one area may implement increases in staff in other areas. I was a little surprised when I saw the STEAM and the humanities coordinator. Then the realization starts turning in my mind that not only are they responsible for the high school and what it will look like, and I truly believe that the STEAM philosophy will replace some of the lack of having an AGBO program here in town. The STEAM coordinators are also, and the humanities, I believe, will be O92s. They will be capable of doing evaluations. Once you're in a maintenance mode, they are out there and they are evaluating. If these two people can get out and evaluate as well, I see that perhaps we might not have to implement these 7 VPs that we saw in the superintendent's first budget. You know, SEED has created a lot of things that, we didn't see. And we are, I think, addressing them as they come. I'm not happy to see an increase in the CIO to go to be the CEFO. People get mad at me. I talk in too many acronyms, and I agree with them. I would have preferred to have seen a stipend, that this would be a response to the data implementation that needed to respond to the safety. And I also believe that in the future, there is a need for us to reallocate our IT and to look at it and to reevaluate it. I see this as something that the BOE and the TC need to sit down and they need to do this together. I also asked for a little bit less money, but the town council sent me more than what I asked for. Maybe because we had more, we were able to do more, and I think some of these things are coming a little faster than we expected. Because, as I said in the beginning, no budget is perfect, I feel it is important at this point in time to support the superintendent's budget and to work on the things that we don't like in the future.
Thank you. Tom?
This is going to be a tough budget for me. I am not a pragmatic person. I'm a practical person. Pragmatic people have no real principles. They're willing to sacrifice principles to advance even just a quarter inch. I'm a practical person. If I can make things fit into my principles, I'm all for it. And I work really hard to make that happen. All-day kindergarten, as Donna has said, is a culmination of the reorganization. Donna fought very hard. I fought very hard. There's other people on the board who fought very hard to get the allocation from the town council, and it exceeded what we asked for. They deserve credit. We deserve credit. We worked really hard for it. The state mandates, those are driving us into the poorhouse. Evaluations, thousands of evaluations every year, that's coming from the state. These are 6-figure positions. Those aren't teachers. Those are people evaluating teachers, and I take issue with it. There are things that I agree with my other colleagues on the board. I have issues with maintaining professional organizations, membership with professional organization that doesn't represent a local board of ed. They tend to support regionalization and regionalism, which I think is going to be a problem down the road, especially when it's going to cost a job. the services that we get from CABE, we can still pay for. And it's my estimate that it's about $10,000 a year that we could pay for the same services without paying $20,000. That puts $10,000 back on the table. Then there's the CETO upgrade. I have an issue with that too. When the position, from my understanding, when the position was created, the certain salary was set up, and the position was to be worked into, anticipating some of this stuff. So the way that I'm seeing is that giving a raise at this time is inappropriate, because that position is living up to the reason it was established in the first place. That's $20,000. That's a para. So understand, I'm in a really tough spot. This is a very good compromise budget, but there are things that I take issue with that are against my principles. And I'm just going to leave it at that.
Thank you, Tom. Joyce? Put the mic.
Thank you.
Sorry.
We have been working on this very painful budget for, well, 6 months. Because we actually started thinking about it before January 1st and agonizing over it. And as part of that, we had to take into consideration Common Core, which we had been working on, but now we had to implement it. Our reading specialists and math specialists were working on Common Core before the beginning of this year. Now they're writing units to be put into place next September. That was one mandate from the state. Everybody's got to do it. They've accepted it. We'll be using smarter balance exams, which means that we have to be able to use more computers because all these exams will be given on computer. We tested it this year and everything went well so far, but that was with a small group, not the entire town taking an exam. Then, over a couple of years, the legislature had mandated a new teacher evaluation. They've had task forces working on this for years. And although the initial task force was not ready to make a report and final recommendations, the legislature decided it had to be done now with whatever they had planned to do. And that means beginning on July 1st, we are responsible for evaluating our teachers according to a plan that's been provided by the state. That plan is a big one. It is labor-intensive, requires the work of administrators to perform. Administrators who already have too much work to do, that fills in every minute of their days, and now they have to fill in additional and frequent observations of every teacher in town, except that we have a waiver. We only have to do about 1/3, and we're
60%.
60%?
That's first year, yes.
So we're doing the secondary schools initially. But again, mandate, no extra money, although they've talked about it at the legislature frequently. And then, many years ago, I don't even remember how many now, but I know I wrote an article for the Hartford Courant complaining about it, the high school reform. I said it was too close to being a cookie-cutter plan that was would only create one kind of student, and students needed more than that. But that is still on the horizon. And that is being worked into our new high school, which is coming very soon, and for which we still have to prepare thoroughly. Now, those are 3 mandates for which funding has been discussed to be provided, but has not been. This budget takes into account pieces of that and has provided us with something we can work with, although, as you've heard thus far, none of us are totally satisfied. It's not a win-win situation. To address one concern that Mr. Janitis suggested, STEAM is the source of many potential voc ed programs, and they will be involved within that area. It is one of the few areas where you can see young people with very limited post-secondary, high school, secondary education getting very good jobs because they'll be available, lab assistants, a variety of others. So we'll be doing vocational education program as we move forward with STEAM. I've reported on that several times, actually. So it's not the winner, but it's good. So I approve of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Joyce. Jen?
Like many people have already said before me, this isn't exactly perfect. This isn't what we strive to do right from the beginning. And it has been changing this whole entire time. Every time every week we get together, it's something different that we'd be cutting or looking at. I think this retains a lot of positions. I'm happy about the full-day kindergarten. I know that my son would have benefited from a full-day kindergarten, and having 2 small ones in school in 3rd and 4th grade, the Common Core is incredibly hard, and I don't know how half-day would even get the children up to the level that they need to be with the expectations with Common Core right now. So I definitely support that. Looking at the other items, I can understand the STEAM and the humanities coordinator, and it's basically just due to SEED that we need them to do all the reviews of the teachers and coordinating that. And I hope, like Donna said, that after a year or so, they'll be able to do much more coordinating for the new high school. And especially with their different positions, they can get into town with the businesses, which is something new that the Board of Ed in the town has finally done this year, especially with STEAM, get into some of the local businesses for these kids to get jobs right away. I don't exactly agree with the CETO upgrade. I don't think that's necessary right now. And but I understand we don't want to do everything when the high school starts, so this is starting to take away, like, eliminating the 5 high school department chairs and the TIS and stuff like that. I totally understand that, and I would like to do it at little increments and then instead of just when the high school opens. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Jen. Just a few comments. I mean, I think the board has worked very, very hard for the last 6+ months on this. And as we all know, we all bring a lot of things to the table. We actually set up goals for them, I think 6 of them for the board, of things that we thought were important to try to reach. And every budget is a compromise, and as is this one. I think we will walk away with not everything that we all want, but with some things that we think are important and we think the community thought were important. You know, Dr. Schumann got us putting the goals together, put strategies to get it together to get there. We ended up coming through with a rigorous core curriculum. I think that was critical to me to make it work and make sure that we're carrying that out. We wanted to analyze student data. We wanted to ensure that the high school consolidation initiative supported it. And I couldn't be more proud of the board and the council for supporting the high school consolidation and the public getting it through, that we're really going to have a first-class high school. And I think it should make all of us proud that the direction that we're going there. I think the things that we're talking about, identifying the best strategies to accomplish this stuff, I think those are fantastic as well. But the things that I'm most pleased about are the consolidation and the full-day K. I mean, everybody's been working hard on that. We listen to the community. We listen to ourselves because we've been pushing it for years, and I think this was our year, and I'm pleased that we'll be able to pull that off. But I'm also an incrementalist, as some of the folks have said here. I'm not looking to wait until the high school opens to do everything, because you can't. I'd like to see us plan, and I think some of the things we asked Dr. Schumann to do was to be efficient and plan and take us towards that consolidation. And I think as the enrollment goes down, I think he's done that. I like the consolidation of the department chairs. I know there'll be some losses there, but I'm looking also at the class size at the middle school, which I think is far higher than even some of the class sizes that'll be there with the reductions. And as much as I hate to see teachers let go, I think as the agents for the community, we need to look at it and say, how many people do we need at this point in time? And what's a reasonable class size, and is it comparable to the others? I would be ill at ease to come up here and defend a 15.97 average class size. I just couldn't do that. As a former teacher, a retired teacher, I would. That was smaller than most of the classes that I taught over my 38 years. I think getting here at 17, 18, 19, 20, or 21 is certainly respectable and more defensible. And so I think what we try to do is find our way through this and balance out class size and make reductions where we could make them and make additions where we need them. Several folks have spoken about the unfunded mandates, and I have been an articulate spokesperson for that when we've had our legislators here, and trying to take them to task to say, get us some money to do this, because that's what's hurting all school boards throughout the state. But it isn't an option of doing it or not doing it, and I think the recommendations that the superintendent's put in to help us deal with SEED, I think those are reasonable. I also think the STEAM coordinator, to have a STEAM program and not plan for it before we open, would just not be reasonable and not be appropriate. I think we'd be doing a disservice to the public if we didn't put the right people in place to make sure that's success. So. That being said, I'm going to support the budget. There's some things I'd like to see in there. There's some things that I would prefer to do differently. But I think overall, I think it's a good balance, and I feel comfortable supporting it. At this point, do folks have more questions? And if we do, I'd like to go down the line. If people want to ask a question, fine. If not, then just go to the next person. I'll start with Peter.
You mean questions or comments?
Questions, comments, it's discussion of the motion.
I don't see this as a compromised budget by any means. I really don't. We had and I applaud the effort and the turnout of people who came to support all-day kindergarten. But if you look at most of those people who came, it's people who have kids going into kindergarten. And I think the other people, the silent majority, just sat there. So I don't see it as a compromised budget by any means. When I look at a foreign language teacher, an English teacher, a guidance teacher, a math teacher, special ed teacher, 2 business teachers, 2 science teachers, a social studies teacher, paraprofessionals, and a assistant principal and department heads being eliminated, that's not a compromise. That's an elimination of positions for something else. This Common Core stuff, I am tired of listening to that. That is nothing but educational big business. And when people realize what this is going to cost, not just Enfield, but the state and the country, it's incredible. I'd like to thank our rep, particularly the one who's on the education committee, for showing up all the time to kind of lead us through this and give us some details about exactly what's going on and why they're doing this stuff, and then everything getting passed at the last minute here. And as far as to try to equate Voc Ed and the STEAM programs, that they're not even in the same ballpark. They're not in the same league. With what you're doing in a high school, a regular high school compared to a Voc Tech program, it's just miles and miles apart.
Thank you. Tina? Kevin?
I don't think this is a compromise. You tell me what you think. Our taxes are going up, our class sizes are going up, our unemployment's going up, our administrative headcount's going up, their salaries are going up, and I am fed up. I'm tired of the idiots, whether they be downstate or whether they be here, trying to make me feel good about something that's not. A $100,000 salary for somebody to coordinate something that's not even implemented yet doesn't pan out with me. Okay? We don't need coordinators at the expense of the people teaching the lessons. We don't need data miners to mine data rather than the people to facilitate the education. It's about our kids. I'm a parent first. I don't agree with this. I'm not okay with this. It's not a compromise. And God bless you. Please remember it.
Vinny?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Donna? Tom?
When it comes to the consolidations of the high schools, there are things that I understand. I have my reservations about Common Core, as many of my friends on the board do. I also understand the obligation of a mandate. When it comes to the consolidation of the high schools, I agree with many of my colleagues that now's the time to start moving forward with that. Understand that at some point in time, in the very near future, we will have one high school. And our total population of the high school will be very close to where it is right now. And just because you're separated by two buildings doesn't mean that you need this extra, I mean, specifically with the department head positions, which I don't, that's just an administrative function. And there's enough room to have those administrators administrate. I mean, every corporation in the country right now that is successful has asked their administrators to do more work. I also understand the reservations over the two curriculum coordinators. I tend to agree in some degree with how can you administer a program that doesn't exist yet. But I also understand a mandate. It's very hard to want to not vote for something and have the state standing over your head saying you will. There are often at times when sitting on the board, I feel like I am just going through the motions at the behest of the state. And it's also important to note that all of us on the board are held legally responsible for these decisions. We're probably the only locally elected officials that are held to that standard. We can go to jail. We can be fined. We can have our property seized if you don't do what the state tells you to do. So if there are those who have issues with what the state is telling you to do, then you need to change the people that are at the state level. I have some principles here that I am struggling with. Again, every successful company in the country right now, dealing with the same economic stresses that we are dealing with, has asked our administrators to do more for the same pay. Those are the ones that are surviving. And under normal circumstances, yes, we could have a little bit more latitude, but we don't live under normal circumstances anymore. Our circumstances change every day, and things are still tight. And the responsibilities are being added by the state, not by the Board of Education, not by the folks here, by the state. I'm very careful to localize who's responsible. I will point out who's responsible. They're responsible. I'm not sure about the Common Core stuff. I'm okay with the STEAM stuff. I don't like the evaluation process that's being forced upon us, and that's the magic word, is forced. I understand it. I don't like it. And I'm going to leave it at that.
Thank you, Tom. Joyce?
I don't have anything additional to say.
Okay, Jen?
I'm all set.
Do we have need to continue the discussion, or should we call the question? Okay. Kathy,
Sorry.
roll call, please.
Mr. Janitis?
No.
Mrs. LeBlanc?
Yes.
Mr. Feely?
Absolutely not.
Mr. Grady?
Yes.
Mrs. Suzak?
Yes.
Mr. Sirard?
No.
Ms. Hall?
Yes.
Mrs. Rancourt?
Yes.
Chairman Neville?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Make a motion to
Oh,
adjourn.
hold on just a second. I think we have one other thing on here. Board member comments, item 7. We still have time, so I would start, Jen, do you want to begin? Do you have any comments, board member comments? I'll start in my left here.
No, I have nothing. I wasn't prepared for that.
That's okay.
I'm
Joyce?
The legislature has passed a budget. The details are not yet available. There are some hints that education has been funded as promised. What that means, I'm not sure, but something to look forward to.
Thank you. Tom?
No.
Donna? Vinnie?
Good.
Kevin?
I'm willing to bet that your legislators downstate who are on the Education Committee do not represent the best interests of Enfield this term. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Tina?
No.
Peter?
Yeah, I'd like to refresh everybody's memory about in the last year or so, people coming before the Board of Ed. Well, I almost slipped. Moaning and groaning about the educational system and how they're going to sell their houses and move out of town because our school system sucks so bad. Well, I wonder how many are going to say the same thing, except for I can't afford the taxes in town anymore.
I'd just like to thank the board. I know this for all the work they've done on this, and you know, I appreciate the effort. And let's see if we can move on and do what's best for the town, best of our ability. At this point,
Motion to adjourn?
Hey, you
stealing. Stole it. So a motion to adjourn has been made by Mr. Feely and seconded by Vinnie Grady. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?